This is the cheating story of me, 23 years old, and my girlfriend, 23 years old. It all began innocently enough. A chance meeting on Instagram that quickly blossomed into late-night calls and deep conversations. Our connection felt effortless, like we had known each other for ages despite only just meeting. But little did I know, beneath the surface, a storm was brewing. In the early days of April, I met my girlfriend on Instagram. It was a chance encounter. We had no idea how we ended up following each other. One day, I saw her story and was mesmerized by her eyes. I couldn't resist DMing her, especially since I was a bit high at the time. That night, our vibes matched perfectly, and we switched to a call. Despite my state, she enjoyed our conversation. Just a couple of days later, I went to go with my friends for 5 days. During the day, I enjoyed the beach and the sun with my friends. But every night, we'd talk on the phone until sunrise. She had to go to the office in the mornings, but she sacrificed her sleep just to talk to me. For those 5 days, she gave up her rest, facing her office tired and sleepy, yet never once did she disappoint me. Her dedication during those nights in Goa made me realize how special she is. Her willingness to sacrifice her sleep just to keep our connection alive means the world to me. In the initial days of our relationship, she gave me her Instagram password without me even asking. On the third day, I found myself scrolling through her messages. What I saw shattered my heart. There were chats with other guys that felt too desperate. A couple of them even involved sexting. Others showed her entertaining guys who were flirting with her. My heart sank, as it reminded me of my last relationship, where my ex was texting many guys, leading to our breakup. I told her everything about how heartbroken I felt seeing those messages. She listened and explained that she used to talk to those guys just to get over her toxic 3-year relationship with Aman, a fake name. Aman never treated her well. He was abusive and would hit her when he was angry. Even after she blocked him everywhere, he would still try to contact her, sending messages through GPay and calling from his friends' and parents' numbers, sometimes up to 50 calls a day. For 3 months, she never responded. Their relationship had never officially ended. They had a huge fight, and she decided to move on after crying herself to sleep that night. Despite his persistent attempts to reach out, wanting to understand what went wrong and to talk to her one last time, she never replied. That's what she told me about Aman. Hearing her story, I felt a mixture of heartbreak for what she endured and sorrow for the pain we both carried from our pasts. After a few days, I got back to Mumbai from Goa, and the next day we met at Goregaon station, where her office is located. That day still runs in my mind on repeat mode. It was the best day of that month. A couple of days later, on a Sunday, she came to my college hostel room. We enjoyed Netflix and chilled together. As the evening went on, we kissed and eventually had sex. It may have been only our second meeting in person, but we had already grown so attached through our phone calls in Goa that it felt like we had known each other for a long time. I knew almost everything about her. Talking about her past, she mentioned having had 2 boyfriends, though I still have my doubts. Her first relationship lasted 4 years, ending when she caught him cheating with her friend. The second was the toxic relationship with Aman, which spanned 3 years. There was also a third guy I discovered through her chats, where they had a casual relationship for about a month and engaged in sexting. This is when I, in Goa, saw her chats. Despite these revelations, I accepted her past because she was in long-term relationships, and I had my share of girlfriends before, so it was no big deal. Everything went smoothly between us. She fell for me, and I saw her taking efforts for me, something I had never experienced before. No one had ever made me feel like this. Her pure feelings and efforts were all I ever wanted, and I fell for her even harder. I was in deep love with her, which was all I ever wanted. We often went to Versova Beach after her office, and sometimes she would come to my hostel. I became obsessed with her calls and texts. Even when she was busy working, she always replied. Her dedication and the way she made me feel were beyond anything I had ever experienced. D-Day. Then came the day when she cheated on me. It was a Saturday, and she took half a day off to visit me after work. However, I already had plans with my friends, so I told her it wasn't possible to meet that day. My friends and I were headed to a mystery room, but little did I know my life was about to become a mystery itself. Around 6 in the evening, I went out with my friends and returned around 11. I texted her, and we had a normal chat. I asked if she could come to my hostel the next day, even though it was 2 hours from her home. She said she was tired and wanted to spend Sunday with her family and friends. We had a minor argument that night, and I blocked her after our chat. The next morning, I missed her terribly but managed to resist calling her. By the afternoon, I couldn't hold back anymore and called her. The first call went unanswered, then the second, then the third, and soon I was making WhatsApp calls and video calls, 20 to 30 calls in total, but she didn't pick up any of them. This had never happened before, especially after such a minor fight. Worried, I called her office colleague, her best friend, who knew about us, and asked her to check if everything was all right. Her friend's calls also went unanswered. Then, I asked her friend to call her mom to see if she was home. Her mom said she was out with a friend, which felt strange because she usually told me beforehand when she was going out with friends. I called all her friends to check if she was okay, but none of them were with her. She had very few friends, so it was easy to check. Her family became concerned and started calling her too. Eventually, she realized I had called all her friends, and she finally texted me after around 40 to 50 calls. I get one holiday, and you want to ruin that too, in aggressive tone. My ex Amon is giving me a headache and etc., etc. Her message left me feeling uneasy and betrayed. I was furious when I read her ex's name in her message and immediately called Amon. On the call, he told me he wanted to talk with her, and last night they had sex at hotel. I could hear my girlfriend's voice in the background. Yes, she was with him that afternoon. My heart broke, and I started shivering, unable to digest what I was hearing. I called her and asked if she had sex with him last night. She said no, claiming he was lying. The phone was on speaker, and her ex said we can go to the hotel to check the registry book. Then she admitted they had gone to the hotel, but insisted they didn't have sex. Her ex replied, saying, "Just see my love bites on her neck." At that moment, I was utterly shattered. I had a long conversation with her and Amon about what happened. After that call, I went to meet them. I was in no position to believe either of them. I just needed to talk to Amon and my girlfriend, now ex, face to face. When we met, he told me everything about what happened yesterday and today, revealing how she had been unfaithful even while we were in a relationship. Meeting them and hearing the truth from Amon left me devastated. The betrayal was more than I could bear, and my heart felt like it had been ripped apart. Actual scene. Saturday morning, Amon sent her a request on Snapchat and a few desperate messages. "I want to talk to you. Please don't end this. You suddenly went out of my life without telling me. You haven't talked to me for the last 3 months. Just give me 10 minutes, and let's clear it out." She agreed to meet him, and after a few chats, he dropped her at the office that morning. He asked if she was free after work, and she took a half day off to come meet me but had to cancel our plans. Instead, she went back home early, around 6-ish, and met him again. They talked and ended up having sex that night at a hotel. She went home and talked with me as if nothing had happened. I had no clue about what had transpired just hours before. The next morning, she went out with him for a long drive. That's when I was calling her repeatedly, and she wasn't picking up. When I met Amon, he told me many things about her past, claiming she had multiple affairs while she was with him and that he had caught her doing various things. Most of these seemed like lies, aimed at driving me away from her life. Despite everything, Amon still wanted her back, such a stupid, desperate guy. She was crying uncontrollably while Amon and I talked, begging me to give her just 10 minutes to explain, but I couldn't even bear to look at her. In the street, she got on her knees and held onto my legs, pleading for me not to leave her. An uncle passing by asked if everything was all right and if he should call the police. We managed to defuse the situation somehow. Since that day, she has been calling and texting me daily, making every effort to win another chance, promising she will never do such things again. Now, after a week, I find myself considering giving her another chance, though my friends strongly advise against it.